Hi, I'm Reverend Kevin, and welcome to Premarital University. I'm thankful that you have found your way here, because this is where you can divorce-proof your marriage. You see, every day couples who are madly in love walk down the aisle and get married. But statistics tell us that roughly 50% of them will eventually divorce. That's 1 out of 2. That's no better than predicting a flip of a coin. And for divorce to be so common, the consequences are pretty devastating, and that I can attest to from my own personal experience. Financially, there's standard legal fees and court costs, but there's also a whole slew of hidden expenses, such as lost equity in the house when you sell it, moving expenses, new insurance costs, counseling, lost time from work. The list goes on. By the time you add up all the obvious and not so obvious expenses, the real cost of the divorce averages at $76,000. But worse than the finances is the emotional and spiritual trauma. The sense of feeling like a failure, the damage to your sense of self-worth and self-esteem, fractured relationships with mutual friends, and probably the worst part is the pain that you feel by putting your children through the divorce. The feelings of guilt, anger, and stress can be overwhelming. My story was no different. It wasn't the legal process that bothered me. It was the consequences that followed that shook me to the core of my soul. For the first time in my life, I found myself taking antidepressants. And they weren't working. Or if they were, I would have hated to see what kind of condition I would have been in without them. I wasn't sleeping, and I felt like I hit a brick wall. Let's just say I was in a dark and dangerous state of mind. I didn't feel like I can go on like this any further. I was lying in bed contemplating my options when something happened. Now, it's only by looking back on it a few years later that I was able to acknowledge it for what it was. It was an answered prayer. It didn't seem like much at the time, but that morning on August 7th at 3:43 a.m., I made a promise. I made a vow that I was going to find some answers about myself, about marriage, and about love, or I was going to die trying. I had a new mission in life. I consumed everything I could find from the experts. I read books, articles, and blogs. I listened to CDs and podcasts. I watched videos and DVDs. I got training in various premarital programs, and I attended workshops, retreats, and conferences. Then finally, 10 years after my initial intervention, I started to share my collection of best practices, strategies, and proven principles with my engaged couples. And the results were fantastic. In fact, another premarital program that was teaching much of the same content did a longitudinal study and found that 95% of the couples were still married after 10 years. That is huge. They had proven that marriage education can reduce the divorce rate from the normal 50 out of 100 to only 5 out of 100. That is a game changer. But the only problem with the program is that it requires a lot of time. It's difficult for both clergy and engaged couples to find time for 12 face-to-face premarital sessions. With this online course, you can use your computer, laptop, iPhone, tablet, or iPad. You can access this content wherever you are, whenever you want it, for the rest of your life. We believe that your success in marriage deserves every chance we can give it. Many, many years from now, we want you to be that sweet elderly couple that is still holding hands while walking down the sidewalk and snuggling when sitting on the park bench. We want you to be that couple that everybody envies and admires because you still have so much love for each other. Your journey for that begins here. Now, let's go to the computer screen and I will show you how the course works. This is what the typical module looks like. Notice first of all that there are 3 modes of learning. You can watch the video, read the transcript, or you can listen to the audio. You can download it to your iPod, or you can listen to it online. The reason we offer you 3 modes of learning is, of course, because people learn differently and some prefer different ways to learn. However, Whether you like to read it or listen to it, you still may prefer the video program, because what we've learned from research is that retention and learning is done much better when people can read the words and listen to the words at the same time. So that's pretty much what we do in the video program, except for the introduction where I'm doing a brief face-to-face talk about what it's all about. The rest of the webinar is all talking script. That helps you learning, so let's trust the process. One of the first things you have to do at each module is, first of all, is to print out the necessary forms. First, there's a fill-in-the-blank form. You need 2 of those, one for the groom, one for the bride. You only need 1 practice test, as you can do it together, as well as 1 date night discussion, as you can do that together as well. You will use the fill-in-the-blank form while you're going through the content, whether it's the video or the reading or the audio. After you finish that, your next venture will be take the practice test. That's something you can do together and use your notes and refer back to the transcript if you want to. After you've taken your practice test and you feel like you have a good grasp of the content, then it's time to move on to your online test. Now notice, starting off the online test, it requires your names, but it only has 2 fields, one for the first and one for the last name. There's a way to get both of your names on the test. Let me show you how to do that. The secret is just put 1 full name into the first name blank and 1 full name in the last name blank. It's as easy as that. After you've done that, it's time to start the test. Click Start and get started. After you've taken the test, to be eligible for a certificate of completion and to move on, you have to score at least a 90 percentile on all your answers. Once you have done that, then you get a certificate. Now there's 2 ways to print off your certificate of completion. You can just click Print over here in the bottom left corner. You can see that. Now if you print that, it'll give you a very small rendition of the certificate, maybe 6 by 8 inches. The other option is to click the down arrow, download the certificate to your computer, and then print a full-scale version that's more like 11 inches to 11 inches to 8.5 inches. So that's your choice. Okay, now comes the best part. You've already gone through the module content. You filled in the blanks while you did so. You took the test, both online and the practice test. Now, the best and final part is your date night discussion questions. This is what the date night discussion questions may look like. We want to get you away from the computer and actually go on a date together. It doesn't have to be a big, formal, expensive date. We want to get you out together, away, where you two can just have some face-to-face conversation, have a cup of coffee or some ice cream, find a corner at Starbucks or go to Chick-fil-A, and kind of go through these questions together and answer them for yourself. Now, we've been asked what happens if we live in different states or even different countries. Of course, you can use Skype or the telephone to go through these questions together, but it's still important for you to have your own personal discussion as you go through these questions. After you completed the discussion questions, you can put those in a notebook with all your other content from the module. That would be your fill in the blanks, the practice test, maybe your certificate, as well as your date night discussions. Put those in the notebook for further review during the week, and also for possibly turning those in to your supervising counselor, marriage mentor, or marriage coach, or supervising pastor. Once you've completed this module, we will send you another one in the week following, and that's the way you proceed through the whole entire course. You get a new module every week. The only difference would be on your last module. When you take the test, it will be a cumulative test over the entire course, and you do have to score a 90 percentile or better in order to successfully complete the course. I thank you for your investment in your marriage and your relationship. It will pay you huge dividends down the road. Have a blessed day.